Good morning, everyone, from Monroe Park and Broad Street, where the UCrops Monument Avenue 10K is about to begin. A record 41,000 people. And there they go. The elite runners are off in the 2011 UCrops Monument Avenue 10K. Good morning, everyone. I'm Lane Casadante, along with the Chief Running Officer of Runner Worlds Magazine, Bart Yasso, who is along again with us.
Would go on to advance to their second straight national title game by that 70-62 score. And speaking about Houston, that's where our Lane Casadante is right now. He has more from game one of tonight's Final Four. Lane.
Well, good evening from Houston, Sean. You know, to a man, the VCU players said there were no surprises about what Butler did. The VCU coaching staff had them very well prepared for what the Bulldogs were going to throw at them. But when VCU has made so many shots throughout this tournament, tonight they just didn't seem to fall. And in the words of former Benedictine standout Bradford Burgess, sometimes that's just basketball. From the Orange Bowl in South Florida, in Charlotte, in Scottsdale, Arizona, in Denver with the Spiders. From Lane Stadium in Blacksburg, Lane Casadante, CBS 6 Sports.
The man we're referring to, Goochland's own Justin Verlander. CBS 6 Sports Director Lane Casadante spoke with Verlander shortly after the award was announced, and Lane, that was some recognition.
Oh yeah, it is, Sam. We already knew he was one of the best pitchers in baseball, but today Justin Verlander accomplished something that only a select few have done in the history of the sport. The baseball writers have chosen the Detroit Tigers ace as the American League Most Valuable Player. This comes just a week after Verlander won the American League Cy Young Award. This marks just the 10th time that a pitcher has won both of those awards in the same season. We caught up with Verlander at his home in Goochland this afternoon, where he admitted that he was thinking about this big award back in the middle of the season.
It hadn't even been a dream of mine. I didn't think it could happen, but after the halfway point when people started thinking about it or talking about it, you know, it came to the forefront of my mind, and I wanted to win it, but didn't know if it would happen. Today's a great day for myself, my family, Richmond, and Detroit.
Coming up later at 6, we'll have more of our exclusive interview with Verlander, including some political maneuvering he may have done, which may have helped his cause. Sam?
Thank you. And just hours after head coach Joe Paterno canceled a news conference, CBS 6 Sports Director Lane Casadante spoke with a local football coach who for years had sent his players to camps at the university. Lane is live in the newsroom with the latest. Lane.
Sam, Richard McPhee has spent the better part of the last 3 decades coaching high school football. He estimates that over the course of 20 years, he took between 25 and 40 players each year to camps at Penn State. Camps in which he helped run drills alongside former Penn State assistant Jerry Sandusky. McPhee is now an assistant at Atlee High School with his son Marcus, who played at Penn State. He was there during the times when Sandusky is alleged to have sexually abused up to 9 boys under the age of 16. McPhee is shocked by what he has heard because there was never any sign of the abuse that he could see, and if there were, he never would have taken kids under his supervision into that kind of environment.
When I was reading something about 1998 and 2002 and all of this with what's going on, I'm saying I was there. It's almost like they're talking about somebody in your family, you know, and it's upsetting to a certain degree, but on the same note, I still have a lot of sympathy for those kids that all of this stuff happened to.
McPhee also sent 6 of his players to play at Penn State on scholarship. One was his son Marcus, who was recruited by Sandusky out of Huguenot High. We'll hear from Marcus at 6 p.m. and get his thoughts on what his former coach is facing. Lane Casadante, CBS.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 11th and final week of Final Score Friday for the 2011 season. We are very honored to have the 2-time defending state champions, the Cosby Cheerleaders, here to kick off the playoffs this week. You see they got region trophy, they got district trophy, and they got state trophy for the 2nd year in a row. Our game of the week included 2 of the heavyweights in the playoffs here in the Central Region, LC Bird and Varina. They met 5 times before in the playoffs, and Bird has pretty much dominated this matchup once they get to the postseason. Our Sean Robertson, last week the Confederates won this matchup just to get to the playoffs. This was a wild game tonight. First play from scrimmage for Atlee, Ruben Rucker is picked off by Stephen Wyra. He returns at about 15 yards. That set up an Israel Vaughn 1-yard touchdown run. It was the first of 2 touchdown runs in the first half for Vaughn. They missed the extra point, made it 6-0. Second quarter now, Rucker answers with his own 3-yard touchdown run, and Atlee has a 7-6 lead, but Lee Davis threatened to pull away with this game in the first half. Tyrell Eaton's 5-yard touchdown run made it 21-7 in the second quarter. Atlee, though, would come back. They were only down 7 at the half. This would go to double overtime, and the Raiders survive and advance. They win 42-35 in double overtime, so Atlee moves on to the Division 5 final.
Sports director Lane Casadante is live at the Coliseum to explain why this is such a big deal for the VCU students and for the school. Lane?
Well, Sam, good evening from the Richmond Coliseum, which is empty right now, but will be filled about 2 hours from now. It is a sellout for tonight's CAA title game between VCU and Old Dominion. The winner, as you said, gets an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. We are joined right now by VCU's athletic director, Norwood Teague. It's been 4 years since the Rams last went to the big dance. There will be a lot of familiar faces when the Squirrels come back to the Diamond next month, but one of the newer faces might be hard to ignore. It should belong to 6'5" lefty starter Eric Surkamp, who pitched collegiately at NC State. And because of his size, scouts have always expected him to be a hard thrower. But it's been his off-speed stuff that made him one of the most effective pitchers in the California League the last 2 years. Virginia Tech has won 2 of their ACC titles by avenging earlier season losses. Both of those games came against Boston College. This Saturday, they have a chance to do it a third time, this time against Clemson. And this time around, the Hokies say both teams are playing much differently than they did in October. Here at Penske Racing, their Sprint Cup operations have scaled back from 3 teams to 2. Now, most owners will tell you that they want to have as many teams as NASCAR will allow for the sponsorship opportunities and for the testing information. But not everybody says that having more information is necessarily a good thing when getting ready for these races. The big numbers in this game all belong in the second half. Stanford outscored the Hokies 27-0 after halftime. Orange Bowl MVP Andrew Luck was 9 out of 10 passing for 201 yards and 3 touchdowns, and the Stanford defense limited Virginia Tech to their lowest rushing total this season and their lowest scoring total of the season, and sent the Hokies to yet another BCS loss.
Saying goes, what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger, and that appears to be the case for a football player named Sean Hibbard.
His life lessons are paving the way for his success with the Richmond Revolution.
Sports director Lane Casadante is here.
And Lane, you met with Sean Hibbard, and he's quite a guy.
He is. He's a fantastic guy. A number of athletes come from broken homes and tough childhoods. Sean Hibbard doesn't shy away from the tougher and possibly more embarrassing parts of his life. Just the opposite. He wants to use his life story to help others avoid the same path. The dictionary defines protection as the preservation from injury or harm, and it can take many forms. It can come from family, the military, or from a group of teammates. Sean Hibbard has experienced all 3. As a child, Sean was just 3 years old when he led his 2 older brothers from their abusive home in Western Virginia. They took refuge in a local dinosaur park, but they weren't on the run very long.
Because we were only wearing cutoff shorts, and that's all we owned in our bag lunch, someone from the store had called the state police, and they had came and picked us up. And I vividly remember actually running away from the cop because I didn't want to go, because I wanted to take care of my brothers.
Over the next 13 years, Hibbard would visit 15 different foster homes, 2 group homes, and a detention center, each with varying degrees of failure. At the age of 7, he and his brothers were adopted as a group, but Sean was returned a short time later and separated from his brothers for the next 12 years.
They said that I was too much of a guardian, parental figure, and they were worried that it was going to cause an issue with them listening to them or me. I did have some trust issues because everybody that I cared about ended up hurting me.
Hibbard had a decision to make, even as society was already making decisions about him.
You have to choose your path. You know, you can either do what society says, and when they label you as, oh, this kid's not going to amount to nothing, or he comes from a crappy home, so we're just going to let him just skate through the system. I didn't accept that.
It was his final foster family, the Holtz, who finally broke through to him, one of the main turnarounds in his life. The other turning point came when Hibbard enlisted in the Army at age 17. He became a decorated sniper who served 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan and earned a Bronze Star among many other honors.
Well, Sean's really one of the exceptional soldiers that the military has to offer. He does balance a number of different things, and amazingly enough, does a high caliber job at each and everything that he undertakes.
Through all of this, football has remained a passion. He played on the varsity level at Sharando High School and later hosted camps for children whose parents were deployed overseas by the military. It was at one of these camps last year when some former Redskins took a look at his size and athletic ability and gave him the idea to try professional football. He is spending his first season as a tight end with the Richmond Revolution, hoping, as most of his teammates do, that something bigger and better might come along.
The first hit was that I received was an eye-opener, like, okay, you know, shake it off a little bit, and after the first half, I felt really comfortable.
He's in it for the love, pure love of the game. I mean, Sean has just been, once again, a great inspiration for all of us. If he can do it, with this plate being as full, I can't complain at all. I never do.
Along with raising 5 children of his own, Hibbert continues to hold camps and clinics, and he volunteers to mentor at-risk youth whenever he can. He has a tryout with the Virginia Destroyers of the UFL next month in Cleveland and hopes to take the next step in his football career. The news at 5:30 returns right after this.
Is inside. Burgess. It's a Rams of Virginia Commonwealth.
You could call it the perfect Cinderella story. Win after win kept the VCU and Richmond pride rolling in, and also the cash.
We need it. I mean, Lane, we are very, very lean. We are a whole lot more lean than people probably realize. We need every penny we have.
It's Athletic Director Norwood Teague's job to decide how best to use that money to grow his entire athletic department.
Let's go.
Part of it will obviously go toward the highly publicized new contract that Coach Smart earned after last season. But some of it will go towards what are called non-revenue or Olympic sports, the kind that don't get big TV money for doing well.
We can't go crazy.
It's also Teague's job to balance the newfound success of his entire program with some restraint in knowing that the Rams run was so special because it doesn't happen very often.
And we've even met as a staff, kind of the administrative staff in the department during September, really reevaluating who we are, really who we used to be and who we are now, and how the expectations have changed for everyone in the department.
Those changes include a better than 30% increase in season ticket sales for this year and bookstore sales that in March alone were more than for all of 2010. All this newfound success could lead to some growing pains for the Rams, but if they ever want a blueprint on how to handle it all, they only need to look 90 minutes north, where George Mason is still reaping the benefits of their Final Four run from 2006.
4-3, no good. By George, the dream is alive.
The Patriots have earned about $2.5 million in NCAA money from their Cinderella story 5 years ago. But factor in all the media stories, t-shirt sales, and new student interest, and the figure went through the roof. The school commissioned one of their economics professors to do a study on how much all their revenue and exposure totaled in benefit to the school, and the figure reached $780 million. Some of that can be seen in new housing being built for the student population increase and in new programs like their performance-based initiative for athletes, which has helped recruiting for all sports.
It's just one more thing that they can add to their list of great reasons to come to George Mason. You know, it's a terrific school. You're going to get a terrific education. You know, we have terrific programs, and these are all the things that we can do to help you as a student athlete.
People didn't know us, and the Final Four gave us that exposure where we could go out and tell our story to people who didn't know our story. And then once they found out about our story, they wound up coming to campus to see what it's all about.
That becomes the goal at VCU. Will the excitement people feel for all of VCU still be there 5 years down the road?
The interest is certainly at an all-time high, and we got to keep it there going forward. That's my concern. I knew we were going to have a lot of the interest anyway. You know, my concern is that we keep our momentum high or at a high level as best we can.